Welcome to the Den of Tools.
Honey ho, guys and gals, it's Red, your friendly neighborhood tool bear, back again here in the Den of Tools. And today we are here to talk about, yep, you guessed it, the good, the bad, and the ugly of Craftsman tools. Now, I'm not going to go into full historian mode like I do in a lot of cases here. We go back and talk about it. If you're looking for that, I would recommend checking out my video here, Dead Store Walking, where I talked about the bleak future for the once retail giant, and I talk about its storied history as well. But the short of it is, in 2017, Sears sold off Craftsman for stupid amounts of money, $900 million. In the agreement, Sears now, though, they still get to make and sell their own line of Craftsman tools, or at least up until their chairman and owner and former CEO, Fast Eddie Lampere, is done stripping the company of every cent he can and milking it all out of it and leaving it up on blocks. Who knows? But we'll get more on that later. For right now, let's talk about what is good about Craftsman, because it's a brand that I've loved for years, for as long as I can remember. When I think tools, in my heart of hearts, I think Craftsman. I have to admit that. And they've been around for well longer than the bear here, over about 100 years or more. They were one of the first great, inventions, not inventions per se, but brands that Sears created. And they were really fundamental in building this country in a lot of ways. When our men in service during World War II came back, they'd learned a lot of stuff about working on vehicles there, overseas, having to fix things on the lines, that sort of thing. And when they got home, they wanted to keep doing a lot of that same thing. And what they did was they needed someplace to find good, affordable tools. And a lot of them turned to it for a profession, and Craftsman was there to help them with that. In fact, Craftsman is the reason why we have shiny chromed wrenches and stuff these days. They're the ones who started that trend and moved it forward. But sadly, as things went forward and certain people held certain positions over at Sears, things got pretty bleak. Anyway, along comes, Stanley Black & Decker and Lowe's, and now we're seeing a bright new future for the brand, and hopefully it can be a good one if they make the right choices. Now, that leads us to number 2 in this list of good things. And one of those right choices is, man, they're expanding that lineup. You're seeing Craftsman tools like you've never seen before. They're going to be bringing in, they announced over 1,200 new tools to the lineup. And I think that was an underestimate, because already you go on Lowe's and there's a result for 1,400 of them. There's just a new tool coming out every day, probably twice a day on Sundays. They're coming out and they're all over the place, and there's just a plethora of things that you can choose from. And I for one, am always excited to see a new tool line come out, even if it's just a rebrand of an old one. When they're expanding that much, it's really what we call a disruptive force in the marketplace. And as you can see, it's definitely disrupted Lowe's for sure. Now, as far as places to buy them, that comes number 3 on our list, because used to be you get them at Sears and maybe Sears Home Stores or some Sears-related kind of place. But now you can still get them at Sears. We're going to get more to that whole story here in a little bit. But you can get them at Lowe's. There's Craftsman mowers out there. You can get them at Ace. You can get them at Menards. You can get them at Napa Auto Parts, and who knows where else. Probably showing up at 7-Eleven. I don't know. They're showing up everywhere, which means that much easier access to new tools. And that's going to make pretty much everyone excited. Now, as far as number 4 on our list of good things, at least for some of you who really enjoy the fact of having stuff made in the USA, Stanley Black & Decker, when they bought the company, bought the brand, they said that, yeah, they're going to start making them in China because that's where their plants are mostly located right now. But they would be building a brand new, very large factory in Texas. And if you're a, USA made proud kind of person, I'm going to guess that that's going to make you pretty happy. Now, we're going to talk more about the flip side of that later, because there's some caveats there and some pretty major ones. But if all you care is if it's made in the USA, there you go. That's definitely a good one. Speaking of made in the USA and patriotism, now that next one's a little silly, but boy, Lowe's sure seems a lot more patriotic these days. Instead of just being blue and white, it's now red, white, and blue. The Craftsman brand has taken over the place. You walk in there, and it looks like it's the Craftsman store. But again, more choices, more options, probably better prices all around. Always a good thing for tool bearers. That's what I always say. Now, before we jump into the bad, because that's all we have for the good, before we jump into the bad, I have to ask, just, and it's a personal question, okay? And I hate to be the bear that says this, but have you chomped your like button today? Come on, it's right down there. The good news is, if you're on a diet or anything, that it's totally keto, all right? I checked with the missus. She says it's diet approved, it's vegan and all that stuff. So just chomp away on that like button right there. Do it for the bear. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Anyway, moving forward, now for the bad. And I'm sorry to say we're going to have quite a list here. Well, first off, I have to say, I hope you're not a fan of Porter Cable, because things are looking bleak for that storied old brand. Stanley Black & Decker already has set up at, or they had already, especially at Lowe's, they had their 3-tier system. They had their lower tier entry level stuff with Black & Decker, and they had their top tier for the pros with DeWalt. And in that sweet, Goldilocks zone prosumer in the middle is where Porter Cable lived. Well, Stanley Black & Decker now, they had Craftsman, and they had to figure out where that's going to go, how that's going to fit into their family. It wasn't like they were going to displace their golden child, DeWalt. They probably make more than 50% of their profits from DeWalt alone. And it wasn't like they were going to spend $900 million for a bargain basement entry-level brand. So what ended up happening is it had to fit somewhere in the middle. It had to fit in that Goldilocks zone. And really, in a store like Lowe's and many other places, there's only room for one middle child. So Craftsman kicked Porter Cable to the curb. And now over at Lowe's, you're going to be hard-placed to find much in the way of Porter Cable. My local Lowe's has, I think, 6 or 7 tools in total. And you got to hunt to find those. They used to have giant end caps where you'd find stuff, and now they're relegated down to the corners. And I got to say, but the good news maybe for Porter Cable that Lowe's has kind of released their hold on them, and you're seeing them crop up other places. I've seen them show up online. I've seen them show up at Walmart. Who knows? Maybe they'll get lucky and they're going to find their forever home. Well, somebody will love them and pet them and feed them. And that could be their new place where you can find Porter Cable. I would love to see Porter Cable make a comeback and become the brand it used to be. I'm not holding my breath over it. But I got to say, for those of us who've been around a few years, we remember what Porter Cable used to be. And it used to be one of the best brands out there. Anyway, number 2 on the bad is confusion. Nobody's quite sure who the daddy is here when it comes to the new Craftsman. A lot of people think that, it's Lowe's. Lowe's bought it. I get comments every day. Lowe's bought it. And some people think somebody else bought it. Somebody said Shervon bought them the other day. And the reality is we checked with Maury here, and none of those are the daddy. It's Stanley Black & Decker. We know that for sure. We checked. He did the DNA results. It's clear, okay? So... But now the real question then also for that then goes, well, if they own them and they don't really have a home base, I mean, you find them at Lowe's, but you find them other places. How is that warranty going to work? Because that was the big deal with the Sears warranty. You walk in, you slap down the tool, poof, new tool, you walk out. Well, just to be clear, you can still do that at Lowe's. Or you can contact Stanley Black & Decker customer service. And either way, they will or should replace your broken tools with a new one or a relevant equivalent one. Now, that said, lots of people had poor experiences with undertrained customer service agents. Yeah, well, I tried that whole thing myself, and I wouldn't say that it went smoothly, but I did get it done. I damaged some ratchets on purpose, went to several different stores to test them to see if they would stand up to the warranty. I got a video on it here. You could check it out. All right, and now we got to talk about quality. And I'm sorry, but everything I've seen from Stanley Black & Decker is a big step down in quality. The power tools just seem to be rebranded Porter Cables with a slight tweak here and there. Now, while that isn't necessarily terrible, but it is, I feel a step down from the C3 tools. These are tried and tested, and a lot of people really, really like these tools, and they've held up over the years. Not as fancy, don't have all the cool flashy bits that you may see on some of the other stuff, but they just work. Now, when it comes to the hand tools, though, that's a whole nother matter there. because there's all sorts of problems with these things. And really what it comes down to is it seems like that they just didn't take the time to go the extra step. Sharp edges everywhere. I took apart a ratchet just like this one, found it bone dry on the inside. No lubrication at all. The edges could cut you just by looking at them wrong. And it makes you wonder if their tumbler polisher there was just broken down, or maybe some bean counter in back said, hey, you know what? I figured out we could save 1/10 of a penny by skipping this step. This is going to be awesome. I'm getting a raise. Well, I don't know what it was, but you know, in any case, I'm not real thrilled with it, and they're not my favorite tool, if you can tell. All right, now full disclosure though, you know, and maybe I'm overreacting because I gotta admit, I'm a fan bear when it comes to Craftsman, and have been since I was a cub. My grandfather would only buy Craftsman, and he had a shop full of their tools, and I just knew when I was old enough that I would as well. Sadly, that dream I don't think is gonna happen. And I have to tell you that the branding, though, is still ingrained in my DNA. That just walking through Lowe's, there's like a gravitational pull from those tools. They suck me in. The shiny, the black and the red is like, oh, Craftsman. And I still got to go look. And I guess that logo, everything about it just grabs you with the heartstrings. And you have to remind yourself, there is no cake. Sorry, what I really mean to say is I just tell myself, no, that's not really Craftsman. It's Stanley Black & Decker. It's an illusion. Be strong, little inner bear. Be strong. Maybe one day they'll up their game and it'll be time to buy and fill the shop with those tools. But that day is not today. Number 4 on our list of the bad there at Craftsman is that whole Made in America thing. Because there's a caveat there. There should really be a big asterisk on it because I mean, they put it at the bottom, but they don't talk about it. And a lot of people, I hear from a lot of people, they don't get it. And when it says Made in America, and in fact, I meant, if you're a fan of the channel, you know where I'm going with this. You've seen my take on this a lot. And that is, it's Made in America with global materials. And at the end of the day, that if you think that ruffles my fur, you should see Jeff's reaction. Oh, he'll go off for days. There's no consoling him on that one. But it's not a factory. It's an assembly line. All these parts and pieces are made somewhere else. They're shipped here. They go down this little... This could be entirely robotic. It's like they're purposefully making this one little part of the process expensive by using these people so they can claim it's made in the USA with caveat with global materials. It's like they're hacking the system for marketing purposes because that's not a factory. Where are the big machines? Where's the things making the stuff? Where's something stamping that the housings for those motors? They're just not there. This is all just basically Legos. And the real parts that are being made, they're coming to us from overseas, and they're being made by robots. Yeah, these are the jobs that they're really providing. And I don't have a problem with that. I just don't want them telling us that, hey, we're providing American jobs. These factories they talk about, they provide about the same amount of jobs per square foot as a Walmart and about the same level of pay. All right, anyway, I did a whole video on this talking about that factories, these factories aren't what you think they are. And yeah, what people think I do, what I really do. Soul-crushing work. Anyway, I've harped on this enough. If you've been around the channel, you're probably sick and tired of the bear. I know some of you probably got your flamethrowers ready. Burn my soapbox on this one. So I'll move on. Anyway, number 5 on this is overpriced tools. Now hold on. Not this one. All right, Stanley Black & Decker. I've been critical. Everyone knows that the Bear's critical of Stanley Black & Decker in a lot of ways, but not when it comes to their higher-end tools. I will be the first to say they're top-notch. In fact, when I did my best tools of the year last year, I labeled the Stanley Black & Decker right up there with all the contenders, and eventually going to Skill or Skill Saw. But the fact of the matter is that they make some excellent top-tier tools. Their lower-tier tools, not so much. Even though they do charge professional tier pricing on them, these are really consumer. Prosumer would be kind of going for consumer level tools that they're making people believe that they're buying top tier, construction grade stuff. Anyway, point of that is that when you look at Craftsman now, what Craftsman is they're trying to push them into this upper tier prosumer market where it's going to be above Porter Cable. And if you look at it, if you look at the pricing, that bears the same thing here that we see with the marketing. If you look at that first Porter Cable, that's a brushless tool right there, 1/2-inch brushless with 2 batteries for $71. You go 2 over and you can get a brushed Craftsman with 1 battery, so 1 battery and a charger for $69. And it's across the board. Ultimately, you're going to save money by going with Craftsman, and I'm still trying to figure out what the difference is. Because if you look at a lot of these, at the end of the day, when you look at it, the DNA there, the DNA match is irrefutable. Irrefutable, I don't know. It's the same tool. That's what it comes down to. And, as bad as that is, as bad as this is, where it's clearly, these are coming out of the same molds or similar molds with the same core components, the batteries are where it falls down. And that is because Stanley Black & Decker across the board has some of the most expensive batteries per amp hour of any tool line out there. They got $99 for 2 amp lithium power batteries. Now, you can, with the other brands, like with DeWalt, you can go and buy third-party, second-tier tools and stuff, gray market kind of stuff. You can go on eBay. You can buy from Vanden. There's all sorts of ways you can get around this. But with Craftsman being as new as they are, that those batteries aren't quite out there yet. And we don't know exactly if or when that's going to become an option. But for right now, even if you picked up a great, Black Friday, buy, and you got the whole tool set and you're ready to go, you're going to want more batteries. And when it comes to that, you're going to be spending, your wallet's going to cry. Let's just put it like that. So anyway, we've covered the good, the bad, and yep, folks, that means it's time to get your grizzly on. We're going to talk about the ugly side of Craftsman. Well, there's nothing much uglier about Craftsman than Eddie Lampere. I know, the bear's harping on it. But what he has done to Sears and this brand, it's unforgivable. We now have at least, get this, at least as far as power tools, there's now at least 3 different versions of Craftsman power tools currently being sold. You can go out and buy 3 different ones. You've got the ones that Stanley Black & Decker has at Lowe's and around all the other places. And then you've got the C3 that you get at Sears, right? Well, Eddie went and did a deal with Shervon Group, and now they're also selling their own 20-volt slick system that looks a lot like the Stanley Black & Decker, but a little more muted. Anyway, talking about confusing, I love the fact that the batteries are called die-hard batteries. That's hilarious. Yeah, you can put those in your car. Anyway, the whole point is that these are 3 entirely different systems with, as far as I know, 3 entirely different batteries. And unless I'm confused, this is non-interchangeable in the least bit, which means that you got to be careful which one you invest in because you're going to be stuck in that line. Oh, and the snake that he is, right after selling the brand, right after $900 million, right after selling it, what does Eddie do? He has Sears release a line of Pro Ultimate tools. These aren't just Craftsman. These are the ultimate collection of Craftsman, saying that basically if you want Craftsman, you need the ultimate ones. And they had another promotion to go along with this, of course, when this came out, and that was Craftsman, or Sears is the real home of Craftsman. I kid you not. They had banners everywhere. There were ads running. That I'm at a loss for words over that kind of behavior. Talk about a kick in the teeth to the guys over at Stanley Black & Decker who just bailed you out. Well, SPD didn't take it lying down. They threatened to take, well, they did. They filed in court to sue Sears over that because saying that Sears was damaging the brand that they had just sold them. And for those of you who don't know, you can't do that in business. You can't sell somebody an asset and then turn around and talk that asset down. That's a big no-no. That's against all sorts of ethical code and laws. And they kind of knew it, so they pulled back on it, but not after getting several months out there. and getting some good advertisement on it. I heard lots of people on the boards talking about it and stuff, but hey, that's Eddie for you. And next up in the ugly is we got to talk about that warranty. Yeah, it used to be what took you to Sears. What's what took you to get the Craftsman name, but these days, it's definitely not a quote unquote no hassle warranty, and that limited part applies more and more. You used to be able to walk in, hand them a broken tool, and the customer service agent there would be like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And now he's looking at you like, "Who are you again? Why are you interrupting my break?" Oh, it was really weird because the whole thing seemed to change overnight, and that seemed to happen 15 years ago, about the same time when old Eddie there took over the helm at Sears. Strange coincidence, don't you think? Now, Sears got in a bit of hot water when this whole thing went down because many news agencies came up and said, and ran stories on this, and they said stuff like, it looks like this is stuff being, policy coming down from the top. Is this the new way Sears is doing business? Are you backing away from your warranty? Are you going back on your word? And of course, corporate always came down and said, no, that's not the case. This is all the fault of undertrained or, bad attitude local staff and their managers not enforcing the corporate policy because we would never do that. And anyway, let me take a break real quick and tell you that if you do believe that story there, I got to let you know that right now we are offering for sale shares on our new Florida waterfront home housing development. You can invest now. Just go over to the website, dentotools.com, and click on the Buy It Now button, and you too can own a lovely piece of real estate like this. Oh, man. And we also got to add to that warranty problem there is this one that's a lot more significant than you might think. And that is that when it comes time to warranty those tools, if you got that old classic wrench and stuff, well, I got some bad news for you. When you take it in for warranty, they're not going to hand you back the same tool. You're getting the new version. Yeah, it's not going to be the same kind of quality. It's almost like people coming and taking your tools away and handing you 2/3 of the tool. It's kind of sad. And lastly, I got to say about warranty, I know this warranty thing just keeps going, right? Well, all these other places besides Lowe's. Now, Lowe's will have a lot of single items, but most of the other stores aren't. They're just going to have packs of items. And they've already said that they're not going to be yokoing those packs. They're not going to be breaking up any sets, which means you're going to be forced to either call corporate and do a mail-in replacement, and you get to pay the shipping and all that, or you can go over to Lowe's and try to find someone to help you at a counter somewhere when they show up. Yeah, I know. In fact, you should check out my latest video about the morale at Lowe's. Things are getting bad over there. Some stores are worse than others, but it looks like they're turning into Home Depot. If you like Home Depot, then kudos for you. But for the rest of us who enjoyed that kind of customer service that we normally get at Lowe's, you can pretty much guess that's going away. The last thing is that Sears really is a dead store walking. While they did get a temporary reprieve, I don't think they can hold on for much longer. They eventually just become an online brand, probably. I don't know, though, but they keep closing stores. At some point, this is going to impact their ability to generate revenue to the point where they're not going to be able to recover. It's kind of a death spiral kind of thing. And honestly, if I had to answer that question, I would say I think they're already past that point. I think they're over that line, and they're just holding on, trying to get the last ounces of value out of the company. Well, in my neck of the woods, they closed almost every Sears except for one. And, in Vegas here, there's 2 million people. There were quite a few Sears around here. And just leaving one, well, at least there was that one, right? And they even said, you know what, we're not closing this one. We're going to invest a whole bunch of money into it. I think you probably got the idea where this thing's going, huh? Yep. They invested millions of dollars to rehab this store and make it look brand new and shiny and everything. And months before it was supposed to reopen, they announced, sorry, we're closing this store too. In fact, it's going to be closed in just a couple weeks. You can bet your bottom dollar the Bear's going to be over there looking for some value-priced tools, but not expecting much of a warranty because at this point, you'd be lucky if that warranty was able to follow you home. It's going to evaporate pretty quick. Anyway, I have to say it was hard to do this video for me because I do have such fond memories of Craftsman and my grandfather, and this to me is something that I always thought would be a big deal in my life, and sadly is not. It's like someone just told me that the Easter Bunny was sold to Hershey's and is now getting sold in 7-Elevens. Anyway, because I'm so close to this, I may have missed a point or two. Maybe I went too far in a point or two. Let me know what you think down below. Put it down in the comments. Tell the bear what he's wrong about. Tell him what he missed. Tell him what he should have added. I want to hear your side of the story. Also, hey, if you're going to be around, don't forget to come on by this Sunday, 6 p.m. for Tool Talk Live. That's our weekly live stream. I try to answer every single question you guys and gals put out there for us. We hang out. We have a good time. We talk tools, tech, family, business, all sorts of stuff. It just kind of meanders. We start at 6, usually go till around 9. It's a good time, and as I say, I try to answer all questions out there. So if you got any questions about this video and you want to come on, stop by and just say hi, we'd love to see you there. Anyway, that's all the bear has for you today. Hope you chomp that like button. Maybe consider sharing the video. That always helps. Makes the Labradog happy. She gets all jumped and excited. She loves it when you share the videos. Anyway, you all take care. God bless. And as always, come on, say it with me. Shine on.